Hello again, and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your bro 2IC. And this video is going to be more of a casual, laid back, no written down anything. This is all going to be straight off the top of my head because I've been seeing something a lot more, and I've been trying to figure out a way to cover it and get something out there in a response to try and answer some of these questions that people have or might be having, especially because all this is starting to become more mainstream with everything hitting the news and all the uncertainty about the future, especially this year, but the future in general. That prepping and homesteading and all this is becoming more of a fad than anything, which brings it into who's the serious and who's not, who's playing and who's pretending and who's actually trying to protect their family. But we're going to talk about some really ugly truths. Some of this is probably going to be uncomfortable. So, what I'm going to do, okay, and I'll probably get made fun of for this or whatever, but if you are going to get triggered by anything, if you can't handle uncomfortable, if you can't handle a little bit of adult language, or you don't want to hear about these topics or anything like that, I will keep it as PG as I possibly can, but I'm letting you know right now, right here. All right. So if you stuck around, uh, put on your big boy or big girl pants and let's get into this. So I see a bunch of people joining all over the place on all over social medias, and it's hard to differentiate who is running around trying to be impressive. Oh, look at me, look at all the things that I have. I'm going to rule the planet. I'm going to become some warlord or whatever. And they have it, I guess, in their mind that this is going to be some type of Call of Duty Hollywood movie sort of scenario, and it's just not true. Okay, when we talk about this stuff, we always talk about you prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Well, when a bad situation, when we're talking about true SHTF, and we're talking about long-term power grid failure, we're talking about complete communications failure, we're talking long-term, we're talking civil war, we're talking anything along those lines. uh, Desperation changes people. So you've got to look at everything that's going to happen and the unprepared. I personally know and have talked to a person that when I struck up the conversation, how much food and water do you have? It's wintertime. What happens if we get a real bad ice storm or whatever? How long could you not leave your house? And they was like 2 3 days maybe, and didn't strike them. They weren't concerned about that. That's just the way they live their lives. It's worked for them this far. Why change it? It's not broken. And for me, I'm going 2 or 3 days. It's what I've gotten, one of my bags. Like, that's what you have in your entire house. Now, you have to look at a lot of different aspects of this when it comes to survival. Resources are finite. You only have a limited amount of resources. You can only gather a limited amount of resources. And so when you go into any sort of one of these scenarios, if you watch any sort of one of them like Hollywood TV shows, movies, or whatever, like the military style esque wartime movies, you see some dressed up soldier or whatever go up to a 1 star, and they're trying to give the report before a battle, and they go, yeah, we can take this hill or this ridge or whatever, and it'll be successful. We can have it within 2 days, and we'll only suffer 1,000. Okay, did you pick up what they said there? That is an acceptable casualty rate. That person now goes, okay, 24, 48 hours and only 1,000 soldiers dead. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Okay. Or if you're in that, are you prepared to be on that list of an acceptable casualty rate? You know, And it goes into something like this. Your resources are very limited. So if you have a small amount of gauze or a small amount of pain relief medication or whatnot, are you prepared to look into a very close family member's eyes or, friend or anything along those lines and make that decision going, okay, we have a very small amount of pain meds. Are they too far gone to where this is just a waste of supplies? Or do you try and provide as much comfort going, okay, there's nothing more that we can do, and we're going to give the last of our supplies to them so that way, they're out of pain and as comfortable as possible as they slip away. It's uncomfortable. It really is. But it goes into the thing, who's next? Okay, if you take those resources knowing that that person is not going to make it, they are far beyond your skill that you have or anybody else has. They require way too much that you cannot provide. Anything that you do is just going to be a waste of time and resources. Are you okay with taking those resources and giving them, away that the next person might need that could be saved? You look at your child or, a grandchild that to save this person, I'm going to give all these different pain meds and gauze and all this stuff, knowing that it's not going to help. That in 2 weeks, something happens to this child, and now you have nothing to give them. It's uncomfortable. And again, we hope to never have to be faced with this type of situation ever, but we need to start thinking about uncomfortable truths. And that brings it into another thing to think about. If these people run around and they think that this is going to be some Call of Duty style, whatever, it's going to be really fun. You're going to pop a beer with your friends and shoot off your AKs and your ARs and you're going to rule the town. Okay, that's dumb thinking. Now, for most of us, we have a family. Now, have you thought about that? Are you going to actually gear up and go into a shooting battle with your 7-year-old? Your 8-year-old niece and nephew, your 10-year-old grandson? You know, people don't, children shouldn't have to be anywhere near any of that stuff. Now, the uncomfortable, sad truth is if some sort of like civil war breaks out, you're not going to be able to protect them. Okay. You're going to do your best, but there's a lot of them that's going to get exposed to that. You're not going to be able to shield them from ever seeing the horrible, horrible scenes it's going to unplay live. This isn't the TV to where you can flip it off or cover their eyes for a minute and then tell them it's all fake. This is really bad stuff that's going to happen. And it's an uncomfortable, ugly truth. And you have the choice, you can either tell your 10-year-old, hey, we're going to go train and try and run them through some tactical drills or whatnot. But literally, you're stealing the childhood away from a child on something that may never happen and hope to God never does happen. Now, you get past that. You can't prep for everything. Okay. You can try, go ahead, but you can't prep for everything. It's not possible. There's nobody on the planet that's prepped for everything. Okay. And some of the things you really kind of can't prep for. Um, I mean, look at the different things that we've talked about in some of the news headlines. I mean, I prep for a bunch of natural disasters. I prep for power outages. I prep for, all the different things that's probable for me to do, plus the little things that are possible. I prep for a decent amount of scenarios. A lion walking down the street is not one of them, okay? I was not prepared for that. That didn't happen to me. I'm just giving the scenario. But you're not going to be able to do it. And you're going to have to be able that when you see a topic come up, don't freak out and panic. Okay. I've said this a ton of times that when asked, what would you do on a nuclear war? Okay. Well, I have two game plans. I have game plan A and game plan B. If game plan A is it depends on where it hits. If it hits far enough away to where it is survivable in my mind, then I'm going to do everything that I can to put me and my family in the best case scenario to survive, whether that's staying inside, whether that's bugging out, whatever. OPSEC reasons, I'm not going to give out a ton of information on that, but it depends on where it hits. Now, number two, I can look up and I can see it's coming down to where I know there's no chance. Well, that's grabbing a lawn chair and some popcorn, and I'm going to watch it, okay? Because it's not survivable, and might as well the last few seconds of life enjoy the show. But you have to be able to know that you can't prep for everything, and if you are for whatever reason you live on a fault line, you live next to a volcano, you live whatever, and some huge half world ending event happens, you got to accept that nothing you're going to do because of the area that you're in and different things like that is going to do anything for you. Okay, you're going to have to be on the unfortunate thing of that. And that's part of prepping, is to prep yourself mentally that you got to cover as much as you can, but you're not going to be able to do it all. Okay, it's just not going to happen. Now, if we switch over into the other part, okay, nice guys finish last is a very popular saying. And there's a lot of nice people out there. Humans, for the most part, are decent people. If you are one of those ones, and there's a lot of times that I'm guilty of this myself, that you do everything you can to have that good, positive, outward nature towards other people, you're going to have to be able to overcome that, because desperation changes people. Uh, when in a civilized society, we still lock the car door when we go into the supermarket. Why? Well, that's to keep people out. Well, here's the thing. If I want in your car, I don't care what lock you have on it, I can get in your car. Okay. it's it's one of them things. You lock your car to keep an honest man honest, because to have a locked car with the windows up and right next to it to have a convertible with the top down, and both of them have $100 bill on the dash, most of the people is going to reach over and grab that $100 bill out of the convertible. Why? Because it's opportunity. It's there. You can grab it. Could you get the other one? Yeah, there's nothing really stopping you. Just a quick tap of the glass and you can reach in and grab it just a little harder than the other one. They're both possible. And so when you try and lock down your castle, okay, it's not foolproof. I mean, even in the old days of castles and everything like that, anything can be breached. It is what it is. And even if there's going to be people down in the comments that's going to be like, oh, I bought some bank vault or whatever, it's 18 inches of solid steel followed by 10 feet of concrete and this and that. It's bunker buster bomb proof. And okay, but you got to come out sometime. You've got air that you need, you got resources you need, you got to get rid of your waste. I mean, you got to come out sometime. So either somebody's going to breach it and get in, or they're just going to wait you out, and you're going to have to come out, and that you're going to have to deal with a lot of this. And so that brings it around to, how well do you know your neighbors? How well do you know the neighbors of your neighbors? How well do you know the people on your street and in your community? Is there somebody that you just kind of know? Is there somebody that you should probably watch out for? Do you have a neighborhood watch? Do you have a block watch? Do you walk your area at night? Do you know what goes on? Do you know that there's a strange vehicle that's been rolling around, or a new person to town? There's a lot that goes into a lot of this. Now, let's say that something happens and, it's 2 weeks in, resources for a lot of people are running really, really thin. There's looting, rioting, all this chaos and everything that's going on. You hear something and look out your door and you see that it's a guy that's 3 houses down are you going to be able to turn them away? Okay, there's a lot of these people that are real strong. They're these real big bad people on the internet. I can keyboard warrior with the best. I'm, the Chuck Norris of the internet. Okay, well that's great. But we're talking real life here, to where you can get punched in the mouth for no reason. So I think there's a lot of these people that don't want to hear these ugly truths. Okay, and you've got to make sure that you have your red lines now, because it's real easy to be in the time of quote unquote peace that we're in right now and go, I'll never do that, or that person can't do that. Well, I'm telling you right now that there's a thing called murder and torture and things like that, and that people do to other people. Sad to say, but it happens. Okay, every single day it happens, which means that if one human can do it, then it's humanly possible. Okay, so to sit there and say, well, my neighbor will never hurt me, or my family. Okay, they're capable of it, and you have to be able to accept that. Why fully trust them? Great. Okay, there's a lot of my neighbors that I fully trust too. Trust them with my kid. I can here watch them for a little bit. I've got something to do. Fully trust them. Okay, but we're not in desperate times. Desperation changes people. And your neighbors, if they've known you for a little while and they know what you have inside of your house, they know your capabilities, maybe they know you're a prepper, maybe they've even made that laughing little joke where, well, if the world ends, I know where I'm going to come. Okay, are you going to be able to turn your neighbor away? Are you going to be able to turn a little kid away? It's 3 weeks into this, and all these people are running around. They're shooting chaos and fires and just death and destruction. And all of a sudden, you glance outside, and there's a 5-year-old kid standing in your yard. What are you going to do? Have you thought about that? You know? Well, okay. Well, you got to help a kid. Okay, what happens if that's a trap? Well, I'll die knowing. Okay, well, that's fine. I don't care about the rest because you're dead. Okay. Well, I'm going to turn them away. It's just not safe. Can you live with yourself? Are you going to be able to sleep tonight thinking about that kid? You could have helped them. You could have done something. It's a child. And you're probably sitting there going, oh, Rural, what do I do? You just said, this way's bad, this way's bad. Yeah, yeah, that's your decision. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do. I'm here to get you to think. Now, one of the big things that you're going to have to really get into it, and this doesn't matter where you are, okay? Drugs. The drug epidemic that's going on is massive. Okay, you're going to have a bunch of tweakers, a bunch of people that do drugs, both legal and illegal, that's not going to be able to get their drugs forever. Okay, drugs, especially the hardcore stuff, is not something like weed or tobacco that can be grown and harvested and done things like that. To get a lot of these drugs, especially they're synthetic, uh, you're not going to be able to transport a lot of this stuff. And even in the thing, even if you wanted to transport it, if society's down, what are you going to do to get it? Okay, money's no good. So there's a lot of these people that's going to be running around. You're talking about good people in desperate times. Talk about some of these people that do drugs on their desperation and how quickly. Do you think that there's drug people that are prepared? If society crashes, I might need 2 weeks worth of drugs so I can wean myself off. Maybe, probably not. But that goes into prescription as well. There's a lot of people that's walking around that they're completely normal because of some synthetic drug that they get from a pharmacy. What happens when that gets cut off? You look at them and you go, oh, look, there's Mrs. Smith. Well, Mrs. Smith hasn't been on her antidepressant and schizophrenia meds for a week now. Mrs. Smith is not the Mrs. Smith that you know and remember. She's now dangerous. And depending on your OPSEC and who you talk to, and you got to remember, well, I trust this guy. Okay, well, that's great. The only thing is, though, is what happens if he trusts somebody else and tells them about you, and that person is not trustworthy who spreads the word? Thus, you became a target and you never even knew it. Okay? There's a lot to think about this. Now, to get into the last little bit of stuff, because this is kind of long and I apologize. Sex is going to be something that's going to go immediately. Okay, you see it in war. There's a bunch of people that do not even think about it. There is rapes and all sorts of that stuff that happens during war. So, in an SHTF situation, yeah, it's going to happen. Okay. And it's one of those that you need to prepare yourself to protect against it. And I'll tell you right now, with all the different things that's all over, the different adult websites that you can go to, the OnlyFans and things like that, um, it's going to be used as a bartering item. And I know that there's a lot of you that's going to look at this and be like, no, yeah, okay, it is, and it's a sad truth. And the thing is sometimes you work with what you got. Okay, I'm not saying that you should do it or shouldn't do it. Again, you make your own choices. I'm just telling you that I've seen this in some of these like indie films where it's a grid down situation. There's a husband and wife who have absolutely nothing, a bottle of water and a little bit. They're starving, they're cold, they're hungry, they're this or that, and they run across, a guy that's got a whole bunch in the cabin. He's got food, water, everything's clean, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Man, we need some help. We're going to die out here." And he goes, "Okay," as he looks the wife up and down. And it's a sad reality of what will probably happen. Okay. And it's one of those things I think people need to think about as much as it's uncomfortable. Now, it also goes into the thing for the people that can't handle adult language. Do you have any idea of the amount of, total chaos and anarchy? Nobody cares. Okay. If you can't handle somebody that, you get separated, whatever, you're at work and you're trying to make it home and there's just pandemonium in the streets, and you get over here and over there and whatever, and then you have to join up with a small group of people just, to try and help out your chances of survival. You're a religious person, let's say that, you teach Sunday school at church, and you're just a real honest good person, and the guy next to you drops every f bomb there is, and just this shit sucks and damn this stuff and all that. Um, you have a choice. You can either sit there and be like, "Okay, potty mouth, I don't like your language," and they're probably going to laugh at you and tell you to go fend for yourself, which takes your chances of survival way down. Or you can stick to your beliefs and go, "I'm not going to participate in that language," but you do whatever you got to do. Okay. That's things that you need to think about. Trust me, I know a lot of you is going to laugh at that, but I personally know people that they're going to stick to their roots and their beliefs, and good on them. But they would literally, I've ran this scenario to them. Okay. uh, Somebody's got, a weapon to the head of your spouse, and they say, "If you don't say the word damn, then, we're going to pull the trigger." And they go, "Nope, I'm not going to do it because it is my belief." And I go, "Okay, well, I mean, that's admirable to you, but if it takes one little word to save the life of my spouse, yep, sorry, I'm going to do what I can to save my spouse." The correct thing on that is to try never to be put in that situation in the first place. That would probably be your best bet. But okay, we've covered a lot. Okay, and there's still a lot more to cover. I'm going to see what this video does. I don't know if I'm going to lose a bunch of subscribers. I don't know if I'm going to get a bunch of crap down in the comment section. I don't know if this is going to be my lowest viewed, heavily criticized video. I don't even know if YouTube might pull it down. I don't know. Okay. All I know is I've been seeing this a heck of a lot more, to where it is a bunch of people out there that think that this is just going to be some fun time, and it's not. Okay. there's going to be a bunch of people that is going to be absolutely scared. And if you think that an SHTF situation is going to happen and you're not going to be scared, you're lying to yourself, and that's dangerous. Fear is healthy. It's healthy to have a fear, because without fear, you do stupid things. And we try not to do stupid things in a life and death situation. So this needed to be said. This needed to get out there. This needs to get the wheels inside of your head turning, giving you something to think about. Now, I don't know when this video is going to come out. I know I've made it, and I probably sit on it for a little while. So if you see this, congratulations, you rock, because you made it pretty far into this video. And we'll see if this is a video that is watched and people enjoyed it and whatever. We could do a mini series on this. There is a ton of ugly truths of what's going to happen. And I'm sure there's some military people on here. War is ugly. Nobody should ever have to be put into that situation to have those visuals, to have the sight of what goes on, to hear the screams and the pain and agony of people, to have the smell that goes on that's associated with it. I mean, hopefully, let's hope and pray none of this ever goes on. But if it does, you may want to start thinking about it. Okay. All right. That's what I've got for at least this video. We'll see the outcome, see if another one gets made. If not, then, oh well, I put it out there. I said what I got to say. I'm okay with that. All right, guys, stay tuned. More information to come. I hope you guys have a blessed day of whatever day this video comes out. And yeah, say it with me now. Of everything else, remember to remain united, because we're all prepping in this together.